I'm Dr. Al Akhrass. I'm the infectious disease specialist at Pikeville Medical Center. We are hosting a community health fair July 28, 2017 regarding hepatitis, World Hepatitis Day. So during that day, we're offering free screening for hepatitis, for HIV, for glucose, peripheral vascular disease, for cholesterol, as well as foot and vision examination. So the goal of that day is to increase awareness about the world hepatitis, mainly hepatitis C. We try to eliminate that epidemic problem, especially with explosive epidemic issues, drug abuse. So please join us and try to get your test done free. Again, we're gonna maintain confidentiality, so all the tests will be done in a very confidential way. Thank you.